Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the Calliope. This is a currently ranked 3 battle rating 4.0 medium tank in the American Ground Forces tech tree that costs 9,740 Golden Eagles and comes with 10 backups. In this review, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about it, including its stats, how it plays, its strengths and weaknesses. I'll give some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation and if I feel that this vehicle is worth purchasing or not. As always, please consider subscribing if you'd like more content like this, as I greatly appreciate it. But with that being said, let's get into the review. Now to start, I'll place its stat card here on the side of the screen. Important things to know are, of course, its armament, turret traverse rate, and speed. Now for how it plays. Quite simply, this is a Sherman with nothing special about it, except of course for the gigantic rocket-flinging flute of doom over its turret. In fact, I guess that makes it very special and is probably why Gaijin decided to make it cost nearly 10,000 Golden Eagles. Regardless, the Calliope functions very similarly to the 3.7 BR M4 in the American Ground Forces tech tree, as it has essentially everything the same as it, except that, again, it can fire rockets, which bumps it up to 4.0 BR. With this said, despite how menacing they look, the rockets can be more of an annoyance to most enemy vehicles, though of course they can do substantial damage, especially if you volley fire them. While they are unlikely to kill a heavy tank, though of course it is still possible, they can absolutely annihilate light tanks and open vehicles with one hit. Heck, even medium tanks, especially lower BR mediums, can be easily killed with a few of these rockets. Granted, one of them lands on a weak spot. The only real issues with it are that it is essentially a gigantic ammo rack, which means that savvy players will shoot it and kill you. Granted, you haven't expended the rocket in the area in which was hit. Further, the rockets aren't incredibly accurate, which causes issues beyond 500 meters, and they can take some time to aim, as the rocket pack aims slower than the cannon. Plus, it makes you a huge target, quite literally, as this might be one of the tallest vehicles in War Thunder. On the plus side, however, the rockets provide an excellent way to maintain your stream of fire and provide quick follow-up shots, and can also blind enemies, meaning that you can effectively suppress enemy fire from a tank or two at a time. Aside from this, however, this is again a standard M4 Sherman. The cannon is very good at this BR and should comprise the bare share of your kills. The mobility is essentially average, as is the survivability as well, but of course I'll go into those in more depth in just a few moments. Insofar as how this vehicle should be played, I would say that its roles essentially remain the same as they would before if it was a regular Sherman. It can be a flanker, support, or even a frontliner in a down tier, but you of course have the ability to fire rockets, which adds a new dimension to each of these roles. In all though, I would say that the rockets are a net gain, even if considering the slightly higher BR, and thus you should be able to perform the aforementioned roles more effectively, even if only slightly. Now with that being said, for its strengths and weaknesses, and first for its strengths. It has a good cannon that works very well even in up tiers, especially if you're familiar with enemy weak spots, and doubly so if you're using the M61 APC-BC shell. Second, it has 60 M8 rockets, which, if nothing else, are absolutely deadly to light targets and can occasionally kill medium and even heavy tanks. They can also provide suppressive fire and blind enemies. Third, this features a stabilizer that works up to around 22 kilometers per hour. Fourth, it features a great turret traverse speed that can be as high as 24 degrees per second depending on crew skill. For its fifth strength, it has an excellent cannon depression and elevation of between -10 and +25 degrees respectively. The rockets also have a great range of elevation. Beyond this, it has 25mm thick armor plates on parts of the front of the hull and also the side, which can help to stop some shells. For a seventh strength, the rockets can be reloaded individually at a cap point without having to expend all 60 prior to a full time-consuming reload, which is an issue that the M26 T99 has. Beyond this, it features an excellent reload speed for the cannon that can be as low as 5 seconds. And finally, it has premium RP and SL bonuses. Now with that said, for its weaknesses, this is an absolutely huge vehicle with rocket trays attached. Worse yet, if there are enough rockets, a shell hitting them will annihilate your tank. Second, It features middling mobility at best, as the Calliope only has 400 horsepower, whereas some other Shermans not only weigh less, but they additionally have more horsepower. For its third weakness, it loses the top-mounted HMG due to the placement of the rockets on top of the turret. Fourth, the MG port in the hull is a big weak spot. For its fifth weakness, the rockets are fairly inaccurate at a range and are slower to aim compared to the cannon. And finally, firing the rockets makes a huge ruckus in terms of noise and visuals and will attract enemy attention from both ground and air vehicles. Now, with all that said, let's get into how I score this vehicle. And first, for armament, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I feel like people's opinions on how good the armament is on this vehicle will vary wildly depending on who you ask. In my experience with this vehicle, however, and even considering the M26 T99 that uses the same rockets and which I also have a review on, I would have to say that the Calliope not only has more accurate rockets based on their placement centrally above the turret, but they are also at a much better BR for them, considering the lighter armor of the tanks that you'll be facing. Simply put, the M8 rockets are surprisingly effective against pretty much every vehicle that has armor equivalent or less than that of a typical Panzer IV. If you fire enough rockets, you will eventually either get a kill or destroy enough modules where you can then waltz in and kill the enemy with your 75mm cannon, which, by the way, is still very, very good. The M61 shell fired by the Sherman is one of the best of its BR, with good armor pen of over 100mm, good explosive filler amounts, good accuracy, and great reload rates. The only thing that I could really fault the Calliope on is not having APCR and also getting rid of the top-mounted HMG, neither of which take away too much score in this category. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, this also has a stabilizer and of course a great turret traverse rate, which both rule and definitely contribute to the excellent 8.5 out of 10 score. In all, however, I can safely say that having the rockets on top of this vehicle positively contributes to my kill-death ratio, with probably around about a half kill extra per match on average, at least compared to similar BR M4s. Now, with that said, for mobility, I give it a 4.75 out of 10. The standard low BR Shermans are, for the most part, the picture of average in terms of mobility, or possibly even a touch below the absolute average. They're not especially fast, but aren't terribly slow. This has 400 horsepower, a mist suspension, and weighs around 30 tons. At this BR, this just means that you'll be more or less moving with the pack. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, for survivability, I give it a 5 out of 10. This is a tough one to measure because it has decent armor, but has an almost entirely unique problem in that it has essentially a gigantic ammo rack above the turret. This alone, along with, again, average armor, makes the survivability on this vehicle seem somewhat subpar, even when considering a decently spacious interior and, of course, the fact that it has 5 crew members. But there is also the fact that the rockets can and will blind enemies, making them less likely to hit you while you're firing at them. For all of these reasons, I give it a 5 out of 10 in terms of survivability. It's just very difficult to measure because of how unique this vehicle is. With all the pros and cons, again, I'd say it ends up being fairly average. Now, with all that considered, overall, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. The Calliope is much more of a meme vehicle than anything else, but it ends up still being very good. While the armament is truly the most notable feature on this vehicle, it has decent enough survivability and mobility that should allow you to do very well, especially in down tiers. While not the best Sherman, it's still a very fun and unique take on the classic M4, while still being very capable. Now, with that said, do I recommend the Calliope? Have you seen the price? 9,740 Golden Eagles. That is ridiculous. That's nearly 500 GE more than a Tier 7 M1128 Wolfpack that can essentially grind through the entire tech tree and does so with far better RP and SL multipliers. That's basically my answer right there. No matter how fun and good this vehicle is, as it can sometimes be absurdly powerful with its rockets, while other times it can be a dud, the Calliope costs around 4 times what any Tier 3 vehicle should cost. If it were around 2,400 Golden Eagles, I would be all over it, saying that you should consider purchasing this vehicle, but it costs far too much for a recommendation. So unless you get a 75% off coupon or better, or there is some massive sale and you have spare Golden Eagles, I wouldn't recommend this vehicle for purchase. And you also have to remember, if there's some massive massive sale, pretty much every other vehicle that costs GE will also go on sale, and you'll be able to get them cheaper too. Now, I'm not saying all this because it's bad, because the Calliope is very good and, again, a ton of fun, but because its cost is disproportionate compared to the relatively low benefit. It gets my Tankenstein seal of approval for how it plays, but it will have no recommendation from me unless, again, you can get it at a steep discount. Hell, even the M26 T99, which again, I also have a review on, costs around 2,300 Golden Eagles less than the Calliope, and also has similar rocket pods, and it's a rank 4 vehicle, meaning that it will help you grind through more of the tech tree with much better RP and SL bonuses, no less. So yes, one more time I'll say it, this is still a very fun and good vehicle, but it is not worth nearly 10,000 Golden Eagles. That's just crazy. But either way, that about does it for this review. Thanks so much for watching. Please, if you don't mind, consider liking, commenting, subscribing. I appreciate all of it. But either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.